Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for taking some time out of your day to join us. Today, our topic is going to be talking about SD-WAN. We'll discuss what SD-WAN is, what it does, why your business needs it. We'll also do a quick demo so you can kind of see it in action. So welcome. Thank you for joining us. So our presentation today is an interactive presentation. In order to interact with the speakers, you'll notice the controls are on the right-hand side of your screen. To raise your hand to ask an audio question, you just click on the hand button on the right. If you'd prefer, you can go ahead and ask a question in the chat box. We will have a live Q&A at the end of the presentation, though, so if you want to wait to hold your questions until the end, feel free to do so. If you want to ask the questions along the way, you can do that as well. So to get us started, we're just going to do a quick poll. You'll see the poll pop up on your screen. Quickly select your answer and we'll present the group results in just a moment. The first question of the poll is going to be, how much knowledge do you have about SD-WAN? The choices to the question are none to little, sufficient knowledge, or I am an expert. So just take a second and answer the question how you feel your knowledge is of SD-WAN. We'll give it just a couple seconds and then we'll present the results. Alrighty, so it looks like we have most of the results in. So it looks like a lot of us have none to little idea. You just recently heard about it. And then we also have some people here who have sufficient knowledge but are curious to learn more. No experts in the room, but hopefully when this presentation is done, we'll have some that are headed towards that expert category. So thank you for taking the poll. Today we've got two amazing speakers joining us to discuss SD-WAN. The first one's Abundio. Many of you have probably had the pleasure of speaking with Abundio at one point. He is our principal network engineer here at IPitimi. Abundio offers a wealth of knowledge, and I'm really excited that he's here today. Our next speaker is going to be Seth. Seth is our sales engineer here at IPitimi. He also brings great knowledge of SD-WAN, and later this morning he'll have a great discussion on how to buy and sell SD-WAN. So welcome, Seth. It's great to have you here. With that, I'm actually going to, well, let's talk about what we're going to learn today. We're going to talk about what the definition of SD-WAN is, the features and major benefits of SD-WAN, how SD-WAN works. Abundio is going to give us a quick demo. We're going to compare traditional WAN versus SD-WAN, what the differences are. We're also going to talk about the buying considerations, what to look for when you're selling or if you're looking to purchase SD-WAN. The benefits to enterprises, how small and medium-sized businesses can benefit from SD-WAN, and then also what sets IPitimi SD-WAN apart from the rest. So those are just a few of the benefits you're going to learn about today. Make sure you keep an eye out. So I'm actually going to turn the mic over to Seth, and he's going to jump right in and help explain what SD-WAN is.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. I appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for a short period of time here in your day to learn a little bit more about SD-WAN. Just wanted to chat a little bit before we start here about how SD-WAN is a wide and deep pool of knowledge and information. So we're going to touch on the basics. We're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities we have with SD-WAN, what it can accomplish on a high level. If you're interested in more understanding the details, then please contact a sales rep from IPitimi, and we can get you into some of the more details and talk a little bit more about exactly how everything works. We'll see in a demo later from Abundio the ability that we have to be able to really get a lot of information out of SD-WAN and the portal that's provided, but we want to talk kind of high level. So we'll get started here. What is SD-WAN? The first thing that we want to talk about with SD-WAN is that it uses a software and cloud-based technology to simplify the delivery of WAN services to branch offices. In the past, WAN has been difficult to set up in multiple locations. You might need an MPLS to directly connect different branches. You might have to have significant time and energy into routers being able to be configured so that they can communicate well. With SD-WAN, we have the ability to simplify those things and be able to bring your WAN, your wide area network together without really a lot of configuration on the back end. SD-WAN, or software-defined wide area networks, allow us to enable network abstraction that allows us to be able to virtualize network layers to simplify network operation. So we'll be in a position where we can have things happening in multiple locations through the connection of these edge devices, which we'll talk a little bit about later. SD-WAN enables us to have a much faster, much more efficient deployment based on report back provisioning or zero touch provisioning, and we'll talk a little bit about that later as well. But we have the ability to plug these devices in, they report back to the servers, grab the information they need, and begin functioning properly at that point. And many of you who've been in the industry for a long time know that software-defined networking is something that data centers have used for a long time. It's not new to the industry, but by allowing us to have some of this software-defined networking, we can pull these valuable pieces out of the software-defined networking portion to allow our end users and our customers to be able to enjoy the benefits of that software-defined network. So what and how can we help? The major benefits here: business agility. As many of us know, we have a fast-moving market. We have cloud-based technologies that are moving very quickly, allowing us to do different things through the cloud, hold databases, have services, provide platforms and applications. And with SD-WAN, we have the ability to move quickly with the market. There's quick implementation, like I talked about with the zero-touch provisioning. We can adjust the network, and we can bring up new locations in very, very quick succession. We also have the ability to talk a little bit about internet economics, which allows us to be able to talk about quality of service or quality of experience. We can prioritize traffic and routing and allow us to be able to use the bandwidth at our fingertips in a much more efficient way. And lastly, with optimized cloud architecture, it allows for us to be able to connect to other edge devices, other software-defined network devices, to quickly tunnel and have secure traffic between those edge devices. So those are kind of some of the high-level benefits here, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as we come further into our presentation here. So next we have some things that, some other features that SD-WAN accomplishes. So we're virtualizing the network. This is allowing us to see the network as a whole in our user interface. So when Abundio gets on here in just a few minutes and shows us the demo, we're going to be able to see the whole network. We're going to be able to have it virtualized in front of us, and then we're going to be able to have virtual connections between our edge devices, allowing us to have that network priorities set for traffic and the fastest routes possible for minimal latency and minimal packet loss with our network. We're going to be able to protect our traffic as it passes from one edge device to another, and so it gives us that secure overlay over the top of our network and allows us to be able to have that VPN style security between the two edge devices. Simplifying the service delivery allows us to be able to control the services and through the portal. So again, we'll see that with Abundio's demo, that we have the ability to see which services have priority, see which services are using bandwidth, and take that and prioritize it in a way that benefits our business. If we want to have our VoIP, which we know is prone to issues with jitter and packet loss, if we want to prioritize that over the top before any other traffic, then we won't have any of those issues with it. And then on top of that, we can have our business services, our CRMs, our other cloud services that are helping us do business be prioritized near the top as well, so that we can have service delivery at the level that we need it. It also provides us with interoperability, allows us to control over different circuit providers or different internet providers without a change in the control scheme. So we can push out our traffic in the same way no matter who is providing us an internet access. Couple of other things here we are seeing features of. We've got automation with business policy framework. And what that allows us to do is to be able to bring the same policy framework across from one device to another. We also have the ability to monitor usage and performance, and we can enable some managed services on our end. So we have the ability to be able to allow control excuse me, over WAN for the policies all in one place. So we'll show here on our next slide some deployment options. You can see from this slide that we have two particular branch sites on the left side of this slide. Multiple path, dynamic multipath optimization is allowing us to have those two public internet access lines come in, as well as that private MPLS line and that direct edge-to-edge line. So these two edge devices are speaking to each other directly, and they both have access to both public internet and private MPLS. The beauty here is if you have an MPLS that's already in place, we don't need to change that private network at all. We can add to it, giving us less expensive bandwidth, giving us potential higher speeds, and giving us the ability to be able to pull the internet together with our private network and have optimized traffic both over the MPLS and over the public internet. You can see also at the very top, that portion at the top shows us the cloud gateway service. The beauty about the service that IPitimi provides is we give our customers access to this wide range of edge devices, which are located in different areas, allowing us to be able to give them great access to be able to have cloud services, software as a service, and infrastructure as a service. So things like Amazon Web Servers, if you're using those in your business, software like Salesforce, like QuickBooks for Web, like e-commerce sites. We're allowing our customers to be able to use those cloud gateways to be able to access those particular devices and the servers they're held on with great security and with great prioritization. With our deployment options there, we also have the ability to scale up or scale down. So we can have access and benefit small office or home offices, even with just one single internet branch. So we'll see that you won't have the redundancy, you won't necessarily have the disaster recovery with a single internet branch, but we will have the device allowing us to have higher quality of service, allowing us to have traffic utilization properly handled, as well as having prioritization over that traffic. So we're going to still benefit from all of the pieces that the SD-WAN is doing on the back end, although we won't have the redundancy. And if we bring in a second internet line to that edge device, then we're also then going to have that redundancy. And the beauty about that is, and we'll talk about it a little later, with that redundancy and that edge device, we have not just a single internet line that's a backup line or a failover line that's not being used. We're using them in conjunction, and when one goes down, we switch all our traffic to the other. So that can be used in small office, home office, but it doesn't need to be. It can have just a single internet branch as well. Small offices that may have an MPLS or a private WAN can also bring in internet and use those in conjunction or have a dual internet WAN. With medium offices, generally you have a private WAN with a backup link, and like I just stated, that backup link is generally laying dormant, waiting for failover use. And now we have the ability to be able to use that line and utilize that traffic because we're paying for it, and we can use that to prioritize our traffic and allow us to have good access across both pieces of network there. And then with large office, we can, again, take multiple private LANs, tie those all together, and add failover redundancy as well as less expensive bandwidth over a public internet access there. So with that, what we'll do is we'll turn a few minutes over to Abundio to talk about the user interface, to talk a little bit about what we're going to, what we have access to with the SD-WAN, and allow the users, you guys, to be able to see exactly how that all functions. So Abundio, I turn the time over to you for a few minutes.
Thank you, Seth. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for your time again for joining this webinar. What I'm going to show you is the demo of our cloud or edge device. So first of all, I'm going to talk more about the most powerful feature of the cloud edge device, or this SD-WAN device. So this is going to be optimization, or we call it enhancements. So traditionally, you will have typically two WAN or two ISP links, and traditionally, what you're going to set up for this one is going to be an active failover setup. And as we know, you have your backup link. You're paying for that, whether it's going to be low cost or not. It's going to be on standby, and it only going to be used or benefited if the primary link goes down. And as we all know, it's not going to be seamless. It's going to be about a minute to 3 minutes of downtime before it actually kicks in, and your traffic going to be normalized. So yeah, that's the traditional setup is going to be. Now with the SD-WAN that we have, as you can see here, there are two networks, Paradise Networks and Verizon Business, for example. So the way it's going to be set up is not an active standby or active failover setup, but an active. So the way it's going to work is the traffic is going to be steered over to the good link. Once it detected there's a lot of packet loss. And as you can see here, this link is very bad. There's a lot of packet loss and jitters, and some of them are very critical. We don't see any downtimes here, but I'm going to show you later some example of downtime. But as you can see, the way it's being enhanced is because it steered the traffic over to the Verizon business circuit. Once because that one is good, then the enhancement after, so this is before and after, the enhancement is going to be solid green because it steers the traffic over the good path. So let me show you another example here. So this one, again, 2 ISP setup, active. As you can see right here, there's a blank space in this spot right here. That is a downtime. So because there's a downtime on that and it steered the traffic over, you're gonna still have a solid green enhancement right over after after the or the results. So again, it's very seamless, and it's going to continue to steer the traffic over to the good link. So you don't need to have a very expensive WAN link just to have a very good connection, because not always or not all the time that both of the links will have a very bad packet loss or a downtime at the same time, right? So as long as it continues to steer the traffic over, you should be good. Now, how about for the single links? So let me give you an example of an edge that only have a single WAN link. As you can see here, you have some bad jitter and some packet loss and jitters as well at some point in time. But as you can see, it's still being enhanced. Now you're going to ask yourself, why is that the case? Well, remember that the SD-WAN operates is that it's not going to use your local connection. So basically, in the outside world, you're not going to be the 210.5.109.114 IP address publicly. You are that local connection or your access is only going to be used to communicate to the cloud gateway, and the cloud gateway is doing the routing, and that's what is called the WAN overlay. So your WAN connection is going to be not going to be stressed out because the routing is handled by the cloud. So in that case, even though you have some bad connections on your link, somehow it is still going to be enhanced because it's being overlaid and handled by the cloud. So that right there is a very major benefit of the SD-WAN. Now let me talk about the second benefit of it. It's cloud managed. So because this one is being cloud managed, imagine you're IT person. If you only have one IT person and he's on vacation and you have some issues with your network, usually or traditionally you need to be on site to access the device, and you log in via console or SSH to the device locally, or sometimes you can also access it over the WAN. But remember, what if he's somehow having a vacation in Mexico or something, and because you don't have that public IP allowed in your network, then you're not going to be able to access the device. So you're going to have a lot of downtime because nobody's going to be able to help you out with the network. Now, with this one being a cloud managed device, you just need to access the URL, and then you log in by using a username and password, and you will be able to log in. Now, another benefit of this is because this is not by the way this is by default, the SSH is going to be gonna be denied. Now, you know, I mean, I know some are very still familiar with the SSH and the CLI thing, but why would you need CLI access if you can, you know, have a graphical interface? But then again, you know, by default, it is denied because this there are like SSH brute force attacks that are been happening on the network, and so if that is enabled, some people actually, you know, try to randomly access your IP address and trying to get into your network even though they don't know the username and password, and then your CPU get overutilized, and then your router will be stalled, and then, you know, you have to reboot it for it to restore. But in this case, you know, you don't need that. It's very secure because you just need to, as long as you know the URL and you have your username login, they won't be able to do any attack to the edge directly. So that's a very powerful tool when it is being cloud managed. And of course, you can reboot the device remotely, configure any traffic, and also see other benefits. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys and discuss is is it being an all-in-one box. Now, about the all-in-one box, I mean, what comes to your mind is like, what are the other features that you can actually see in here? Well, you know, traditionally, if you have a Cisco router, if you have other, you know, Adtran routers, and you're used to getting access via CLI, you need to have like a separate application like for SNMP so that you can monitor the traffic, and you can see if there's some sort of utilization and whatnot. But so that's another, you know, extra service that you need to pay to actually get you know, your device being monitored. Apart from that, the SNMP is very limited because you know, you're not going to be able to see the applications that they're trying to access. So you need to enable, of course, a NetFlow, and that's another application that we separate from like the PRTG or Nagios or SolarWinds, or, you know. So that's another application that you have to pay. But this one, it's an all-in-one because let me actually show you an overview, for example, of what you're going to see. So again, like it also already has monitoring bandwidth usage via, you don't need SNMP for that or NetFlow for this. So on this overview page, you can already see, you know, the throughput bandwidth and what's the upload and download bandwidth that you have, and also the live throughput that it's currently using. Also, excuse me, it also shows you the top application already, right? You know, in briefly as an overview, and some very nice graph to see what really consumes or categories. In this case, peer-to-peer. I'm sure it's going to be this right here. Torrent protocol is, you know, what's consuming it. So of course, what operating system and also the sources. So I'm going to show you how robust or this device is. So we've already talked about this, the enhancement right here. Let's talk about the transport. Now the transport is, you're going to see if there's some overutilization in your link. So and you can even also see the packet loss right here. We don't see any packet loss at this link, but there are some examples that you can actually see. So apart from that, jitter, latency, bandwidth, you can see all those things right here. And then this is what I'm telling you about earlier about having to have a NetFlow. In this case, this is already the NetFlow for you. You can already see what top application is, you know, over consuming the bandwidth. Right here, we can see Facebook, YouTube. So these are, you know, not really work related, but you already have a glimpse of what is really consuming your network, and you can block certain users who are um, who are actually always accessing those. And these are the ones that you can also see for the sources. The sources are the one that are the one connected to your device, whether it's Wi-Fi, because by the way, this edge device also have a Wi-Fi, so devices can connect via Wi-Fi or wired, and it will show you what operating system MAC address, IP address, which are important because I'm going to show you later how to, let's say, block some traffic or anything like that. So say, for example, we see this one right here. Is like, it's a lot of traffic, maybe some downloads or anything like that. And what we're gonna do, for example, is to, let's say, add a new rule. You define the source, put the IP, whether you like my IP address, MAC address, it depends, but you can do that. Put it there. And then you define a destination that you wanted to, let's see, for any protocol, or let's just say, how about application? How about let's just do like file sharing, and you can define all file sharing, or just, let's say, box.net to and you can deny that, and you hit OK, and you should be good. And sorry, there's something wrong with the IP address right here. But that's how you're gonna configure the firewall. So again, it's very robust, and it's already there. So you don't need like a firewall or anything like that, because you can also do VPN on this box. Again, one last thing is the destination. These are the websites that are usually being accessed to, and you can do a lot of you can already see a lot of things already in here graphically, which is really good nowadays, because we want it to be more graphical, and sometimes we have to use some charts to actually, but in here it's already in there. So I think that will be all for my demo about the top 3 benefits of the SD-WAN. So Nicole, back to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Abundio. I'm actually going to turn the microphone back over to Seth. He's going to talk a little bit more about a few different things. So Seth, you're up.
Perfect. Thanks, Abundio. And as you guys can see, that user interface is so robust, gives us lots of options, lots of reports, lots of information, and you don't have to have the depth of experience that Abundio has to understand what's going on there. Fairly easy to click through and figure out exactly what you need, and make sure that we're in a position where we're doing what we need to make sure that the businesses have the bandwidth where they need it, that they're making sure their employees are staying on task, that kind of thing. I would love to be able to tell my boss that YouTube is part of what my day-to-day interactions for business need to be, but I can't, and they can see that exactly with what's going on here. So up on the screen now, you'll see one of our customers here was dealing with the issues of having bad ISP. So you can see Time Warner Cable, there wasn't a great score. The VeloCloud score that it was giving it on the far right side is 6.44 before enhancements, and above with the enhancements we were up to 8.39. Now the way it's able to do this, even with a single internet provider, is we're in a position where it is taking the priorities that you've set. It's taking the gateway network, edge-to-edge devices in the cloud, and being able to push that traffic in directions that is allowing it to have a better opportunity for less jitter, less packet loss, and less latency because of the way that the network itself works together. So Abundio showed you in the demo where we had Paradise Networks in our Austin office that just not a great internet service provider, a 3.4. And we had a failover. We have that secondary network there of Verizon Business, and it's using those in conjunction, like Abundio said, an active rather than an active with a passive failover. So we have no issues down there with our traffic. But even with just a single internet trunk that comes in, we can see that there is enhancements that are happening with this SD-WAN that are allowing us to be able to see the benefits of this overall implementation. So we've talked a lot about SD-WAN. We've talked about its options, its features. We've seen the user interface. Let's talk a little bit about traditional WAN. We've got a slide here that'll show us kind of a traditional wide area network, some of the issues with it. So generally you have in your network a router that comes in connected to a switch. All those things have to be configured. And Abundio knows, and some of you who may be listening may understand that you get into the command line interfaces where you're coding in exactly where you want the routers to route to and the switches to switch to. You're setting out those networks. So it takes a lot of time. You've got IT management who's got to come in and do all of that command line interface programming. Oftentimes it's not flexible. It's hard to add a second location, a second branch. If you've got an MPLS, those circuits are expensive to get implemented, as well as oftentimes limited bandwidth or expensive bandwidth. So the beauty about having SD-WAN is it brings us to a position where we've got that MPLS, that security that we've got, as well as being able to have a public internet with these SD-WAN edge-to-edge devices that allow us to have security as well as having network optimization. So you can see kind of the contrast between a traditional WAN where it's fairly expensive, you might be slow and inflexible, and you definitely need to have IT management, where with SD-WAN, some of those things become a lot more easy. So now let's talk a little bit about understanding the need and the buying considerations for SD-WAN. Is it right for everybody? Not necessarily, but is it right for most of the market? Absolutely. And is there a good argument to be made for everyone to be on SD-WAN? Without question. If you can tell somebody that they can use their ISP, their internet provider, in a more effective and efficient way and getting the most out of the money they're spending on that bandwidth, why wouldn't they go that route? So here's some of the challenges that you'll see with a traditional WAN. Like we talked about, you've got the increased access costs for MPLS-based bandwidth. You've got high complexity and branch deployments, and then potential architecture issues which won't allow you to be as flexible as you need to, as we see more and more of the market moving to the cloud. And we see more and more of that infrastructure and more of those services being moved out to where we need to have these the access to these internets so that we can get to the information we need to function as a business. So we now have the ways to explore and overcome those changes. We can deal with applications hindered by expensive bandwidth through SD-WAN because we can purchase less expensive bandwidth through a public IP. We can have lots of bandwidth come in from multiple internet providers, and we can then prioritize that traffic over those internet providers. We're not locked into an MPLS. We can still use it if it's already on site, but we can then couple it and have a union between an MPLS and a public internet branch. We can tackle branch deployments that get delayed by IT complexity because with these edge devices, they show up on site, they get plugged in. You have 2 or 3 things that need to happen so that these things can call back to the servers. They get set up, and then you go on your way of dialing in all of your user experience. So you make sure your priorities are where you want them to be, that your traffic is being networked where you want it to, and that you've got control over the internet coming in and out. So the complexity of having, some of those IT headaches that we get when we involve lots of people, lots of routers, lots of switches, can be minimized by allowing these SD-WAN edge devices to be able to communicate together. And then considering cloud migration is not supported by many static architectures, we are now in a position, especially with this network that IPitimi provides, we've got the ability to give these edge devices access to other edge devices in this worldwide network. They're able to talk to one another, tunnel to one another, make sure they have good connections back and forth, and then prioritize that traffic back and forth. So those are some of the challenges we see, and then some of the ways we overcome those challenges with SD-WAN. Obviously, there's many more. Some of you are probably sitting at your desk thinking, oh, I've got a customer who needs this, or in our situation, we need more internet bandwidth, and this would benefit us in a way that he didn't talk about. So obviously, there are many more challenges that are faced. There are lots of more benefits that we could talk about. But we didn't want to keep you guys on a webinar for very long because we know that your time is valuable. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits to enterprise. So with our benefits to enterprise, we've got improved business agility to be able to use the software-defined solution. We can move with the market. We can use the applications that are provided to us in the cloud, and we don't have to worry about not having the bandwidth required to be able to get out to those applications, to be able to make sure we can reach our CRM, that we can reach our accounting programs, that we can get to our servers that may be held in another location by Amazon. We can drive efficiency and automation with cloud management. Like Abundio talked about, we have the ability to log into these devices and see exactly what's going on with each device, with each edge device from any location across the world. Abundio is not in those areas where he can look at those different devices, but he can see what's going on. He can make sure that the traffic is being routed the way it needs to, and if there's a problem with an ISP, he can then reach out to our customers and make sure that they have what they need to be able to go to the service provider and say, hey, I've got an issue, can we get it fixed? So it allows us to be able to have that efficiency and just drive that efficiency up. It allows us to enable migration to cloud services and applications like I've talked about. We can easily get ourselves out to the cloud and have great access to these different functions. We don't have to worry about bringing servers on site because we want to have good access to them. With SD-WAN, we can have good access to servers in data centers. We don't have to worry about holding a CRM on our own servers internally. We can use a web-based CRM that allows us to have lots of our own employees pushing into that CRM and getting to that information without having to be on site. It also reduces overall costs and helps with the IT budget management. So it gives us the ability to be able to say, look, I only have this much money and this is where my IT allocation is, but I need the best internet provider I can get, and I need to be able to utilize that bandwidth the best I can. And with SD-WAN, we have the ability to couple those two things together. Also, looking at the cloud network here, we are seeing more and more go to the cloud, and you've heard me say that a lot. And what does that really mean? We are allowing different servers, different locations to hold our information. We're using their services, things like Salesforce, things like Zoho, Sugar, QuickBooks Online. We want to be a part of that cloud network because it allows us to work more efficiently. And by incorporating SD-WAN, we've got the security of the gateways that again, we provide access to that are across the world. We allow the scalability and redundancy that we need by being able to bring in multiple internet providers, be able to have multiple ways out and in from our own locations. We have the ability to quickly bring up remote locations. We don't need to spend time and money putting in routers that have to be configured. We can put in this router, it can reach back out to our servers and make sure that it's set up correctly and has the efficiency and the business policies that we want to have in place. And we have that seamless interoperability. So we've got the ability to get out to remote servers, to get out to remote software, to get out to remote infrastructure through this gateway and these networks that we've put together. So with that, what I'll do is I'll turn some time back over to Nicole, and we'll discuss a few more things before our Q&A.
All right, guys, so hopefully we've answered some of your questions. I'm sure we've created some more questions, so feel free to start writing them over in the chat box on the right-hand side, and we'll try to get to them. Also, if you want to, ask some more personal questions and get on a more detailed demo, we're happy to do that for you as well. So as you start thinking of more questions that you might have in the future, feel free to reach out to us. So while you're thinking of your questions for now, we're just going to kind of go over how you determine if SD-WAN is right for you, your business, your customers. So some of the questions that you might ask yourself or your customers is your business geographically dispersed? Are you looking into simplifying and accelerating branch deployments? Are you wanting to reduce your MPLS dependence? Do you need to improve your WAN application and performance? So if you answer yes to any of these, SD-WAN is probably going to be a great option for you. Definitely something that you want to look into. Some other questions you might ask here are popping up on your screen. Do you want more control over your WAN environment? Are you looking to reduce your WAN costs? So again, just several questions to ask yourself. If you're saying yes to any of these, SD-WAN is something to consider. So why would you choose SD-WAN with IPitimi? Well, IPitimi is here. We offer 24/7/365 customer care. Your support to help you is just a chat, message, or call away. Before we actually deploy the SD-WAN, we offer comprehensive training so you know what you're doing before you even get started, and then we're there to support you along the way. So you'll always have assistance in your back pocket. If you ever need us, we're going to be there for you. Okay, so we're going to open up the floor to any questions. So let me just gather your questions here, and then we'll just kind of hand them out to the speakers and have them answer them for you. So again, raise your hand if you want to ask an audio question, or welcome to chat a question into the chat box. So it looks like the first question here I'll send over to Seth. They're asking, if you only have a location with one internet provider and don't have the ability to put in a second connection, can SD-WAN benefit them? So Seth, I'll let you answer that.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicole. Good question. And this is one that we're going to probably see a lot of as we start having these deployments and more people talking about SD-WAN. It's important to note that it's not just related to redundancy and disaster recovery. With SD-WAN, we've got the ability to prioritize traffic. We've got the ability to be able to decide which networks, which websites we have access to. So if you have a lot of employees who are on, say, YouTube, you can shut that down. You've got the ability to make sure that we're sending packets in good directions. And I think the biggest key is making sure that our customers understand that with the edge devices that we send out, you're gaining access to our gateways across the world. And those edge devices are going to tunnel to one another and make sure that we've got great traffic across those pathways.
Perfect. Thank you, Seth. And then we've got a question here. What exactly is an edge device? Can you please explain? So Seth, I'll send that one back over to you.
Sure. Yeah, I apologize. Sorry, I shouldn't be using that terminology without defining it. So thanks for asking that question. An edge device is just a router that's going to sit on the edge of your network. So it's going to have direct access out to the internet, and that's where you're going to have all of these pieces happen. So your internal network is going to be on the inside of that edge device, and your access to the internet on the outside is going to give you the access to those gateways. So the edge device is merely like a router that's going to allow you to have access both internally and externally, and it's what holds all of these different protocols and these different pieces that are then pulled into the user interface that you can adjust.
Perfect. Thank you, Seth. Question from Philip. He's asking if you're going to get a copy of the slides. Yes, absolutely. We'll send out a copy of the slides once the webinar is done. We've also recorded this, so we can get you a recording as well. But the slides will go out automatically. You can also click on the right panel. It's on the right-hand side, and you can download the slides there as well. Okay, so we've got a next question. It's kind of a two-part question, so Abundio, I'm going to send this one over to you. She's asking, what is the installation setup process for this product? Is it a physical device? If so, do we have administrative access to it?
All right, thank you for the question. So let me first answer the question about the physical device. Yeah, there will be a physical device, and that will be the edge device that, like Seth mentioned about earlier from one of the questions. So the physical device will be the edge device that will be deployed locally. So for the setting up of this product, well, first of all, it needs to be added on the orchestrator, the one I showed in the demo earlier, where you can see also the monitoring. So you can add a new edge device there. There, you just need to give or provide the serial number, and then you will be given a key or like a link to activate that device. So, and this is someone probably didn't ask this question, but like, what would be the timeline of this one? I would say 30 minutes maximum. There's even a point wherein, I've had some installation wherein it only takes 5 minutes to 10 minutes deployment. So I hope that answers your question, Barbara.
And Barbara also asked if you have administrative access to it. And Barbara, yes, you do have administrative access to it as well.
Sorry, yeah, I forgot to answer that. Yep, you do. Thanks, Nicole. Yep.
Sure. Okay, so David, it looks like your hand is raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and you can ask your question. Are you there, David? It looks like he typed his question in as well, asking if this replaces firewalls. So I'll send that over to you, Seth. Is this an option to replace a firewall?
That's really going to depend on what your IT department wants to do. Does it have some functionality that a firewall does? Absolutely. We probably would want to still have a firewall in place, but that's going to depend on your business policies and what your IT department wants you to do.
Yep. And I would like to add to that question. I think similar question from Edmond about the edge, if it's the edge device sit between the public network and the firewall. So both of these are actually good questions, and they're somehow related. So basically, for that question, it's gonna be a yes and a no. So it really depends. I mean, you can use your firewall, but your firewall needs to sit behind the edge device. So the public network, the edge device, and your firewall. Now, if you want to get rid of your firewall and just use the edge device, you can do that because, like I said or mentioned in the demo earlier, it can perform all the functionalities of a firewall, VPN, and everything. So you can totally replace your firewall as well. So either way, you can do those setup. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then it looks like we've got another question here. Will you pre-configure the edge, or is our IT department responsible for device configuration? So Abundio, I'll let you answer that one.
Sure. Yeah, the edge will not be. This is again, since this is not like a traditional router wherein we ship it out with a predefined configuration. Since this is a cloud managed device, it doesn't need to have a configuration in place. The configuration and the policies will be on the orchestrator. So the cloud login, as soon as you have administrator access to that, that's where you put in the policy. Like, say for example, you don't want Facebook or any sites in there, so you can configure that policy in the cloud, and then you will load that policy once the device is already active. So it goes back to my answer earlier on how to activate the device. Once that is activated and you can already see that on the orchestrator cloud, you'll be able to put the policy in there, and that will be it. It already have your predefined policy rules.
Perfect. And let me add a little bit to that, Nicole. I think the thing to remember here is IPitimi strives to have best-in-class customer support. So you've got access to someone like Abundio, who we can get on the phone and make sure that you have everything that you need to make sure that that installation goes smoothly. He can help making sure that the IT department has what they need, and if you don't have someone on site, he can make sure that you guys have access to what you need to be able to get that set up and running properly so that you have all these benefits that SD-WAN can provide.
Perfect. So Jim Wagner, I see that your hand is raised, so I'll call on you next. We have one more quick question from Edmund. He's asking, so do we need an edge device for each physical location? Abundio?
Sure. Okay. Thanks for the question. Yes and no. So if as much as possible, we would want to have an edge device deployed at each physical location. But there are some that wanted to use their own firewall. So the cloud gateways can have a VPN, a site-to-site VPN, that can be compatible with a non-SD-WAN or non-edge device. So let's say if they have Palo Alto or Zscaler or any known firewalls that can be set up for site-to-site VPNs as well with our cloud gateways. So so again, like we would want, but for those who don't want, it's possible as well.
Thanks, Abundio. So Jim, I've unmuted you. If you have some questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you. A little bit similar, I guess, to that last question, but not exactly. We have some NAT settings in we have a sonic wall, and we have some NAT settings in that for some static IP addresses, and we also have some VPNs to cloud servers. Will this work independently of all that, or will we have to make any changes at all to anything that we're doing there now?
That's a good question, Jim. So again, are those site-to-site VPN setup that you have already existing in your network?
Yeah, they're from our local office to cloud servers.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if I've shown it earlier in my demo, but the edge device supports VPN. So if say for example, you don't wanted to you get rid of your firewall and use our device, then we can set up the VPN on the edge device to communicate with your existing cloud VPN. So it needs to be configured on the edge through the cloud management. Yeah.
I guess my question is, can I use it independently? Will it still work independently of the edge?
So you wanted to use more or less your existing firewall with the edge, right? Right. So
no.
Yeah.
Not exactly. I want to use the edge for SD-WAN to control the internet for my SIP trunk, but I want to leave my sonic wall alone and let it do what it's currently doing without interference.
I think I got your question. So now, if that would come into play if we can actually have the edge device sit in parallel of your existing firewall. So as long as, let's say, you have, I'm sure you have a static IP address with the internet service provider, and I would assume it would probably be a /29 subnet that can allocate about 5 address. So you have like a spare IP address. We can assign a separate IP address or static IP to the VeloCloud, and retain the old static IP address with your existing firewall, so that we're not they're independently operational. So we can leave that device alone. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, we've got another question here from Barbara. She's asking, we have multiple subnets in our network. Can we send traffic from a single subnet across the edge separate from our other connections? Abundi, I'll let you.
Yes, we can. I think Barbara's question is probably something to do with, like, say for example, if they a single subnet wanted to Yeah, Barbara, we can, I think we can show Barbara how it works. But yes, we can do that. It's, I think we don't have enough time to actually show or demo you, but we can have a separate session, I think, with Barbara, so that we can show this how that will be done. But it is, we can do that. It's just something, a matter of routing the traffic. So we just add that route over to the orchestrator.
Yeah, I think the important piece here is both Jim and Barbara, I'm sure that we can pull together what you guys need. I'm sure we can make it happen. We'd love to show you those things. We just probably would be better off sitting down, getting the demo together, and making sure we show you exactly what you need so that you can ask more in-depth questions. Great questions, and probably questions that other people have as well, but it's probably something that we need to cover more in-depth on a one-to-one basis.
All right, so I don't see any other questions coming in. Like I said earlier, if you start thinking about it later and you have some more questions, feel free to get in touch with us. We're happy to do a more in-depth demo or answer any questions you have one-on-one. We can grab a Bundio or Seth or whoever you need on the phone with us. So just let us know. Our contact information is up on the screen. Like I said earlier, you'll also receive a handout of these flyers of the slide decks, so you can review them later. And then we did record this presentation, so if you want to review it later or have your boss watch it or your IT person or whatever, just let us know and we'll be happy to send you out the presentation. So thank you everyone for joining us and taking the time out of your day to join us and watch our webinar. We look forward to working with you, and like I said, if you have anything, questions, concerns, comments, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.